Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. This is episode number 67 of season 2025. And we've got another AFLW episode coming up today. We're going to review all 9 matches from round 4. We're going to go through our tips. We're going to run through leaderboards for the MVP and best and fairest. And we're going to preview the 9 matches coming up in round 5. For the AFLW. So a lot to get through today. If you're new here, welcome on in. We do 2 podcast episodes every single week. Monday episode is the AFL men's episode. We're in the swing of finals over there, so we're pumping them out every Monday, looking at the men's competition. Every Thursday we come to you with the AFLW episode, which is this one. Plenty of other content goes live on the YouTube channel every single week, including season reviews for every team in the men's competition as the teams get knocked out, and also plenty of social media stuff as well. All Aussie Rules everywhere you look. So search it up. You'll find us. Plenty of content all over the place. So go check that out. We've got lots to get through in this episode, so let's not waste too much more time. Let's jump into it and have a look at round 4 matches. Kicked off with Melbourne v Richmond. This was at Casey Fields on Saturday, and the Demons got another win. They're undefeated 4-0 after 4 rounds. Richmond are the exact opposite, 0-4 after 4 rounds. Their season has started very, very poorly, to say the least. It was over early. 4 goals, 7-0, 2 at halftime. And then 4 goals, 2 to 2 goals, 6 in the second half. Pretty well dominated by Melbourne. Team rating suggests that Melbourne were the better team there as well. 65.31 to a 54.32. That is the All Aussie Rules team ratings. What else is there to go through here? League best and fairest votes. So that's basically the women's version of the Brownlow. We've gone Kate Hoare 3 votes, Tyler Hanks 2 votes, and Monique Conti gets the 1 vote. Team stats in this, it was pretty much dominated by Melbourne throughout this game, plus 13 inside 50s. They had more football. They dominated clearances, plus 9. They had more contested football, more uncontested football. They turned the ball over less. Melbourne are looking really, really good this year. They're certainly so far. I mean, there's, 4 undefeated teams at the moment. They're certainly one of the better teams in the competition. It's hard to see them missing finals from the football that they're playing right now. They haven't had the hardest run to start the season. There's no doubt about that. But they're certainly winning games, and they're winning a few of them by quite comfortable margins. Like, this is, their second smallest margin, I think, for the season so far. So, yeah, they're going really well. Richmond, on the other hand, not so much. They're having a really tough time getting their season going. Only the one multiple goal scorer in this game. It was Kate Hoare with 2. MVP votes for this game. So this uses the All Aussie Rules rating system. Top 5 players for every team. Every single week gets votes. Top 5 for the winning team get 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. And then for the losing team, they get half of that, so 5 votes, 4, 3, 2, and 1. For this game, Kate Hoare gets the 10, 19 touches, 2 goals, 13 tackles. 8 votes for the Demons. Maeve Chaplin, a couple big games in a row, 518 metres gained from 23 disposals. 6 votes in this one goes to Taylor. From Melbourne, 15 touches, 1 kick, 14 handballs. Crazy numbers. No doubt about that. Megan Fitzsimmons gets the 4 votes, had 21 touches and a goal. And final 2 votes for the team goes to Lauren Pearce, 10 touches, a goal, and 10 hitouts. For the Tigers, for the 4th week in a row, Mon Conti has been their highest rated player. 33 touches here, 5 votes. Isabel Bacon gets 4 votes, 10 touches, and a goal with 5 tackles. 3 votes goes to Gabby Seymour for her performance, 12 touches in this one. Libby Graham key defender, gets the 2. And Ellie McKenzie, nearly lost me voice. That was weird. 23 touches, 7 tackles, gets the 1 vote. Melbourne way too strong. Melbourne flying right now. Richmond have a lot of work to do to catch up to the rest of the competition. And you'd say that's going to be very difficult with, 8 weeks to go. They would pretty much almost need to win every game, bar maybe one if they were to play finals this year. So their season's not looking great. Next game up. 2 teams that hadn't won a game yet this season. Gold Coast v the Giants, and Gold Coast missing arguably one of their best players in Charlie Rowbottom. All the pressure was on them. It was their home game. Obviously lost Charlie Rowbottom. But they stood tall and got the win. Ended up winning by 19 points. Both teams kicked pretty inaccurately in front of goals. But the Suns get their season off to a start with a win here. The Giants, they continue to fall further and further down, and it's not looking great for them at the moment. It was the second half, early second half, Gold Coast absolutely dominated. They kicked the 4 of their 7 goals early in that third quarter, early to halfway through. So that's where they did most of the damage. Just did what they needed to. They led all day, but they really did do really well on the scoreboard in that third quarter. They only just rated higher in the team ratings by +3. So it wasn't the most dominant win, but they got the job done. They did what they needed to. And that's a good result for them. McLaughlin gets the 3 votes, Lucy Single 2, and Jacqueline Dupay gets the 1 vote from me in the league best and fairest. A look at some of the team stats. Both teams had the exact same disposal numbers. The Giants actually were +7 inside 50s, which is a sign that they were a little bit wasteful. The most crazy number, though, is the Gold Coast Suns +17 clearances in this game. They absolutely dominated it out of the centre, but also out of stoppage clearances. 11-2 in centre clearances and 16-8 in stoppage clearances. So flat out domination in the middle by the Gold Coast Suns, which tells you that they probably turned it over a little bit when winning it that many times out of the centre and losing the inside 50 count. But it wasn't terrible. They did really well contested football, whereas GWS were a lot more uncontested football in this game. Other than that, we'll jump into player stats. 2 multiple goal scorers, both for the Gold Coast Suns. Havana Harris, what a start to the career Harris has had. All 4 weeks been really, really good. 2 goals here, and Jacqueline Dupay also gets 2 goals. For the MVP votes in this one, for Gold Coast Suns, first of all, they obviously won. Clara Fitzpatrick gets the 10 votes, 17 disposals in this one with 5 tackles. Claudia Whitford gets the 8 votes, 18 touches and a goal. Jacqueline Dupay, as we said, 2 goals and 17 touches, gets 6 votes. Lucy Single gets the 4 votes, 22 touches and a goal with 8 clearance. And the McLaughlin gets 26 touches and a goal with 5 clearances for 2 votes. For the losing team, which of course is the GWS Giants, 5 votes goes to Cambridge McCormick, who's played 2 really good games in a row, but maybe not getting enough support. Gets the 5. Sally Goldsworthy gets the 4, 25 touches in this one. Alicia O'Dowd gets 3 for 20 touches and a goal. Next up is Emily Pease, 17 touches, 2 votes. And Caitlin Sirhoy gets 15 touches and a goal and gets the 1 vote. Giants, you'd have to think their season's basically a wrap. Not that we didn't expect that already. Gold Coast, look, it's not going great for them. There's no doubt about that. But they're not terrible. It's going to be a long season for both teams. This probably, takes a little bit of pressure off Gold Coast for the next few weeks, but I don't see either of these teams being anywhere near competing with most of the rest of the competition this year. Moving on to the next one, we have Carlton v the Bulldogs. This was Icon Park on Saturday afternoon, and the Blues continue their great start to the season. 49-33, 16-point winners. It was a pretty tight contest throughout most of the game, as the team rating on the screen would suggest. Bulldogs did hit the front in that second quarter. They were just down by 4 points at halftime. Carlton had a good third quarter, kicking the only 2 goals of the quarter. Before the final quarter started, the Dogs got the first one, and you felt like maybe they were a chance. Then the Blues got a couple, and then the Doggies got one late, but it was too little too late. Lost by 16 points. Really great start to Carlton season after a disappointing year last year. And then on the Bulldogs side of things, pretty solid game. Their season's looking quite good. It's probably better than a lot of people expected them to be this year. They'll be disappointed. It's another loss for them. But at the same time, they're certainly playing pretty decent football. You look at their numbers last year. They won a few games, but when they were losing by massive margins. That's not happening this year, so that is definitely a positive sign on the Bulldogs side of the fence. League best and fairest votes, Dana Finn gets the 3, Isabel Pritchard 2, and Abby Mackay we've given the 1 vote to. Look at some of the key stats in this one. Carlton had plus 20 touches, inside 50s with dead level at 32 apiece, which is what both teams average, so you don't see that happen too often. Clearances plus 5 in favour of the Blues, which was all stoppage clearances. The Bulldogs actually won the centre clearances. Contested footy went the way of the Blues, as did uncontested football. Bulldogs were better in the turnover game, having 6 less turnovers than the Blues. So that was one positive for the Bulldogs. Tackle count 61-69 in favour of the Bulldogs. On to individual stats. Only one multiple goal scorer, and that was Sophie Mackay, sorry. Got to get it the right way around. 13 touches, 2 goals. So good game there in Sophie's 4th match of her AFLW career. MVP votes in this one. Dana Finn, for the second week in a row, gets the 3 votes from us, and the 10 votes, I think, in both of those as well in the MVP. 31 touches, 5 clearances, really good game. Keely Shearer gets the 8 votes, 17 touches and a goal. Lily Goss gets the 6 for 15 touches and a goal. Next up is Madison Torpey, 11 touches in this one, 4 votes. And Harriet Cordair gets the 2 votes for the Blues in this one for 13 disposals. For the losing team, the Western Bulldogs, Isabel Pritchard has had a great start to the season, 21 touches and a goal with 5 clearances and 4 tackles. Alice Edmonds gets the 4 for 10 touches, a goal, 28 hitouts. Ellie Blackburn, probably Ellie's best game of the season so far. 14 touches, 1 goal, 3. A little bit straighter would have been very helpful for Ellie and for the Bulldogs. The name that I'm going to make a meal of for the second week in a row, Elizabeth Georgiosathis even. 18 touches and a clearance, gets 2 votes. And Jessica Fitzgerald, 15 touches, 3 clearances, gets the 1 vote for the Bulldogs this week. Blues flying, Dogs need a little bit of work, but it's not all doom and gloom for the Bulldogs. On to the next one, and it was Hawthorn St Kilda. This was Saturday night up in Cairns at Kazali Stadium, and the Hawks continued to roll on. They win this one 5-10, 40 to 2-5-17 for the Saints. They controlled this game throughout most of the way, as they were kind of expected to. Hawthorn are looking quite good this year. They keep winning. They had been winning a lot of close ones. This is the first one they won by a bit more than a close margin. It was goalless first quarter, 0-2 to 0-2. The Hawks managed 2 goals in the second quarter, to both of them through McDonough, to give them a 14-point lead at halftime. And then they dominated that third quarter, early third quarter, kicking 3 quick ones, which got them out to a 35-point lead at 3-quarter time. St Kilda still didn't have a goal at this point. The Saints did manage 2 late goals in the game, just to get something out of the game, but they end up losing it quite comfortably by 23 points. They never really looked that much in it, except for, I guess, early on when the scores were 2 points to 1 point and whatnot. But overall, Hawthorn looked pretty good in this one. Team rating suggests the same. League best and fairest votes, Eliza West has gone, we've given the 3 to. Tiana Smith gets the 2 and Emily Bates the 1. Hawthorn dominated possession in this one, plus 64 disposals, plus 3 inside 50s. So not massive inside 50 numbers. St Kilda somehow won clearances by 7, but had a lot less of the ball. Contested football and uncontested football was both won by Hawthorn, and Hawthorn really looked after the ball well. Just 56 turnovers, which is 7 below their average for the season, and 8 less than the Saints had in this game. So really well controlled football by Hawthorn. Probably, in my eyes, their best performance of the season. They looked pretty good throughout most of this game. They've had a reasonably difficult start to the season. They're playing some good football, though, so far. Multiple goal scorer, only the one, Aine McDonough, got the 2 goals, 3, so could have had an even bigger day. MVP votes in this one for the winning team, Hawthorn. Eliza West gets the 10 votes, 28 touches a goal and 6 tackles. Aine McDonough, with those 2 goals and 13 disposals, gets the 8. Lucy Wales in the ruck gets 6 votes, 3 clearances, 27 hit-outs for Lucy. Next up is Jenna Richardson with 13 touches and 4 votes, and Tilly Lucas Rod, 21 disposals in this one. Continues the great form to start the season for Lucas Rod. For the losing team, it was St Kilda, and their highest rated player was Tiana Smith, 22 touches and a goal with 8 clearances. Jamie Lambert, 12 touches, 5 clearances, gets the 4 votes. Serena Watson gets the 3 votes for 24 touches. Molly McDonald, 12 touches and a goal, gets the 2. And Paige Trudgeon gets the 1 vote in this one for 9 touches. 221 metres gained. Hawthorn, they're looking like they're getting the points, which is the main thing for their season start. They're not playing perhaps as good as your Sydney, your Melbourne, and your North Melbourne, but they're getting the 4 points each week, and that is a massive, massive advantage for them. As this season goes on, if they keep getting wins, they're going to be in that top 4, get that second chance, and that will be really, really crucial for them this year. They did manage that last year and then go out in straight sets, so they'll be wanting to do better than that this year, but it's all about, at the moment, getting the wins on the board and qualifying for finals, and they're certainly doing a good job of that. St Kilda, they've had a weird start to their year, winning against Adelaide and then losing the next 3. They're not playing great football, but maybe, just maybe, we'll see an improvement throughout the rest of the year. But at the moment, they look just a little bit off the pace of the rest of the teams that are fighting for top 8, in my eyes. Next up, we head to Sunday football. We start with Sydney Fremantle. This was up in Sydney at Henson Park, and the Swans continue their fantastic start to the season. Yet to lose, haven't really looked like losing either. They win this one by 25 points. Freo were really good in the first quarter here. They kicked 3 of the first 4 to lead by about 12 points halfway through the first quarter. Unfortunately, from then on, it was basically one-way traffic. It was back to a 1-point lead to the Swans by quarter time when Zippy Fish kicked her first goal in the AFLW, and then the second quarter came around and Sydney only extended it out to 3 points by half-time, but it was the second half where Sydney absolutely dominated this one. It was about a 5-minute spell midway through that third quarter from the 9-minute mark through to the 12-minute mark, Sydney kicked 3, and then a few minutes later they got another one. So that was where they put the pain to Fremantle to lead by 31 points at three-quarter time. Fremantle kicked the only goal of the last quarter, but it was way too little, way too late. And Sydney Swans, as they were kind of expected to do here, getting the win. Team rating suggests they absolutely dominated this one, plus 17 in team rating. They were definitely the better team, and they certainly showed it here. Plus 23 disposals, plus 3 inside 50s. The free kick count was absolutely absurd. We don't talk about free kick counts too much here. We don't talk too much about umpiring. This is not saying umpiring was bad. It's just stating a fact. 33-8 free kicks in this game. That's crazy numbers. Clearance numbers dead level throughout the game. Sydney plus 8 in contested football and plus 12 in uncontested. Fremantle's turnovers this year is their biggest issue. Both teams well above average. Well, no. Sydney way above their average here, and Fremantle, who have a massively high average, were basically right on it. They need to look after the ball better. It's one of the things they're really struggling with early season. Other than that, we'll jump into individual player stats here. Multiple goal scorers, there was 3 of them. All 3 were for Sydney. Chloe Malloy continued Chloe's great start to season 2025 and the comeback from an ACL last year. Kicked 2. Cynthia Hamilton kicked 2 goals as well. 2 goals 3, so could have had a big day. And Sarah Grunden, kicked 2 also. MVP votes for this one. The 10 goes, no doubt about it, to Laura Gardner. Fantastic game. 35 touches, 9 tackles, 5 clearances. 4 votes to Brina Tarrant, 12 touches in this one. 6 goes to Jazz Grierson, 19 touches. 4 votes, Cynthia Hamilton, couple goals, played really well, 14 disposals, 326 metres gained. And 2 votes goes to Laura McAvoy. Lucy McAvoy, sorry. Lucy McAvoy. 15 touches, 3 tackles. And for the losing team, Fremantle, 5 votes, obviously, is where we start. Kiara Bowers, 23 touches and a goal with 9 tackles. 4 votes to the number 1 ruck in the competition. Mim Strom, 26 touches, 11 clearances. Yes, you heard that right, 11 clearances. 3 votes to Gabrielle Newton, 19 touches and 3 clearances. 2 votes to Aisling McCarthy for 17 touches and a goal. And 1 vote to Laura Pugh for 13 disposals in this one. Sydney, they're flying. They're looking very much like a top 4 team. Very much looking forward to a couple of weeks' time. It's about a month, well, a bit under a month, I think, that they take on North Melbourne. So that could be a top of the table battle, depending on what happens between now and then. But both teams shaping up quite good. It'll be interesting to see how that match plays out. Fremantle, they started their season really well with a win over Port Adelaide, and since then they have not looked great. They need to turn their form around. I was quite confident that we'd see a pretty good season from Fremantle this year, but so far they have basically let me down. I didn't expect them to win this game, to be fair, but yeah, they need to find a way to turn their season around because it is slipping away from them. Next up, we had a clash of 2 of the top 4 teams from last season. Adelaide, Brisbane. This was in Adelaide, and the Lions got over the line in an absolute thriller. It's 38-41. Adelaide led most of the day. They kicked the first couple. Brisbane got a couple to take the lead, and then it was back and forward a little bit. Half-time, it was 5 points in favour of the Crows. They then kicked the only 2 goals of the third quarter to have that out by 17 points at three-quarter time, and it looked like it might be over. Then Brisbane kicked the first couple of the final quarter, in early-ish in the game. By 5-minute mark of the final quarter, they had the 2 goals. And then a couple misses, and it just stayed around about that 1-kick margin all the way through until the 18-minute mark. There's less than a minute to go. Taylor Smith got a free kick in the downfield free kick in the goal square and managed to kick the goal to win the game by 3 points for the Lions. Their rating was well above Adelaide's +7, which suggests that maybe they were the ones that deserved the win. League best and fairest votes for this game have gone Ali Anderson with 3 votes, Jade Ellinger with 2 votes, and Ebony Marinoff with 1 vote. Team stats, disposals, very similar numbers. Brisbane were +7 in inside 50s. Clearances +3 to Adelaide. I was about to say Carlton. I don't know where I got that from. 6 extra uncontested possessions for the Crows. Contested was pretty much dead level. Adelaide's turnover game was atrocious in this one. They had 72, which is 14 above their average. Brisbane were right on their average at 66. Other than that, Brisbane certainly had a lot of territory in this game. I don't know if they were necessarily the better team, but it certainly was debatable either way which team was better. 4 multiple goal scorers in this game, which is crazy when there's only 12 goals kicked. But for Brisbane, it was Taylor Smith, Charlotte Mullins, and Courtney Hodder all getting 2 goals apiece. And for the Crows, it was Chelsea Randall who kicked the 2 goals. I've just realised that my MVP votes on this screen are actually the wrong way around, but do know that once we get to the leaderboard, I did put them the right way around. So, for the winning team, which was Brisbane, not what it says on the screen if you are watching this, Ali Anderson gets the 10 votes. Had a lot of the football. 22 touches. I was about to say 72 touches. 22 touches, 4 clearances. 4 votes goes to Brianna Coonan. 18 disposals, 5 tackles. Isabel Dawes gets the 6 votes, 19 touches, 3 clearances. 4 votes goes to Talia Hickey in this one. 15 disposals, 18 hitouts and a clearance. And Courtney Hodder for those couple goals and 12 disposals gets the 2 votes. For the losing team, which was the Adelaide Crows, the 5 votes goes to Chelsea Randall. 14 disposals, 2 goals, 8 tackles and a clearance. 4 votes, goes to Zoe Prowse for 11 disposals, high efficiency. Next up, who's next? 3 votes goes to Sarah Goodwin, 12 disposals. 2 votes goes to Ebony Marinoff for 23 disposals, 14 tackles. You heard that right, 14 tackles and 5 clearances. And Maddie Newman gets the 1 vote for 18 disposals, 2 clearances. That's pretty much everything from this game. If Brisbane had lost this one, it would have been a really, really bad one for their season. But instead, both of these teams are 2-2. Brisbane, actually, I think both teams have very important games coming up this weekend. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But really big result for both teams. Moving on to the next one. It was Kangaroos, the undefeated Kangaroos versus Collingwood, who were 1-2 going into this game. And as was expected, the Kangaroos win it reasonably comfortably. 8 goals 10-58 to 2 goals 1-13. It looked like it was going to be a while before Collingwood scored, and that is kind of what happened. It was a windy, blustery game, and Kangaroos struggled, I guess, to make use of their skill advantage, I guess, early days. They managed just 1 goal, 2 in the first quarter to lead by 8 points. At halftime, it was only 3 goals to 0, leading by 22 points were the Roos. But the second quarter, they turned it around. Collingwood finally got their first goal midway through the third quarter, and then Kangaroos went bang, bang, bang with 3 quick ones to lead at three-quarter time by 38 points. Collingwood kicked their second goal early in the fourth, and then the Kangaroos kicked the last couple to end up winning the game by 45 points and quite comfortably won this one. There's no doubt about it. League best and fairest votes in this one. Ash Riddell gets the 3. Tani White for Collingwood gets the 2. And Ruby Tripodi gets the 1 vote for the Kangaroos. Looking at the team stats for this one, as is kind of expected, the Kangaroos dominated at plus 100 disposals, plus 23 inside 50s. Collingwood's defence held up pretty strong for the onslaught that they had throughout this match. Plus 10 clearances in favour of the Kangaroos, plus 36 contested football, plus 60 uncontested football. Both teams had a lot more turnovers than they would have liked, but I think a lot of that has to do with the wind that both teams were struggling with. It was going across the ground, so it wasn't really favouring either end, but both teams had really high turnover numbers. Looking at multiple goal scorers, there was just the one for Kangaroos, and that was Talia Randall. MVP votes, no surprise here. Ash Riddell, current rankings for week on week in terms of our rating system, just been second best on ground the first 2 weeks and then best on ground the next 2 games. So a fantastic start to the season by Ash Riddell. 36 touches this week, so didn't quite crack the 40 like the previous couple. 8 clearances. 8 votes goes to Mia King, 26 touches and a goal with 7 tackles, 7 clearances. Libby Birch gets the 6, 17 disposals. Ruby Tripodi played one of her best games, 29 touches and a goal with 4 clearances. And the 2 votes to round out the votes for the Kangaroos goes to Eliza Shannon, who was efficient. On the other side of the fence, 5 votes to Tani White, who's played probably the best 2 games of her career the last 2 weeks. This was by far the best, maybe a coming-of-age game there. 27 disposals across the halfback flank with 540 metres gained. A lot of intercepts. 1 blue, but you kind of forgive that. A really, really good performance. Gets the 5. Ruby Schleicher, the captain, returned this week, got 15 disposals, gets 4 votes. Backline players did get plenty of it, so the next couple are also backline players. Lauren Butler, 11 touches, gets 3 votes. Lucy Cronin, 18 disposals, 2 votes, having another really good season after being, I think, runner-up in the Rising Star last year. And 1 vote goes to Imogen Barnett, who's playing full-time ruck basically these days and putting up decent numbers this season. Moving on to the next one, Bombers Geelong. This was at Windy Hill, and yes, another one that was very windy. Cats get a really good win, an important win for their season. Played a really good game, leading pretty much throughout this one. And quite comfortably, they were 19 points up at half time, continued to extend that one out by 23 at 3/4 time, and ended up winning by 31 points quite convincingly. Their team rating was massively over the Bombers in this one. I expected it to be a little bit closer than this, but the Bombers just didn't quite show up as well as they had in previous weeks. They had a really good start to the year, but maybe didn't show it here. League best and fairest votes, we went George E. Persparkas with 3 for the Cats, Nina Morrison 2, and Georgia Nanscowen for the Bombers gets the 1. Team stats, plus 23 inside 50s for the Cats. Probably tells you all you need to know about this game. They did dominate possession. They dominated territory throughout this game, and the numbers suggest they were the better team. Clearances, centre clearances were dominated by Geelong. Stoppage clearances were dominated by the Bombers. Contested football and uncontested football both dominated by Geelong. Turnover game, dominated by Geelong. 16 less turnovers for the Cats than the Bombers had. They led basically start to finish. Absolute domination, really, by the Cats. A really good performance in this one. Multiple goal scorers. 1 player kicked 3. That was Jacqueline Parry. And then Georgie Persparkas and Aisling Maloney both kicked 2 goals apiece. MVP votes for the winning team, first of all, Georgie Persparkas, 33 touches, 2 goals, 7 clearances, was huge, gets the 10 votes. 8 votes goes to Amy McDonald, 24 touches, 6 tackles. Nina Morrison gets the 6 for 27 touches and a goal with 9 tackles, 6 clearances. Michaela Bowen, 24 touches in this one, 9 tackles, gets the 4. Jacqueline Parry, 3 goals from 19 touches, gets the 2 votes. For the Bombers, the 5 goes to Georgia Nanscowen, 32 disposals, 15 tackles, 6 clearances. The 4 goes to Chloe Adams, 12 touches and a clearance. Maddie Prespakis gets 26 touches, a goal, 4 clearances and 3 votes. Mia Bush, 14 touches, gets the 2 votes. And the 1 vote goes to Matilda Dyke for 10 disposals, 2 clearances. Cats got their season going. They needed that one. The Bombers, it's not the end of the world, but they have a very important game coming up this weekend to try and arrest momentum back to their side. So we'll see how that goes. One more game from round 4 to look at, and it was the West Coast Eagles v Port Adelaide. This was over in the West, and what a weird sort of game this one was. The Eagles end up winning it by 19 points after trailing most of the way through this game. Port Adelaide kicked the first 3 and the only 3. Oh no, West Coast did get one late in the first quarter, sorry. But yeah, comfortable lead for the Power early. Eagles fought their way back to level peggings midway through the second quarter when Ella Roberts kicked her behind. But then Port Adelaide got the next 3 goals of the game again to extend it out towards that almost 20-point margin for the second time. But from that point on, it was almost one-way traffic. They managed 2 late ones, or 2 goals in that third quarter, to get them back within a kick basically at 3-quarter time. Down by 4 points were the Eagles. They then managed a goal 33 seconds into the final quarter to fully gain momentum. And then they led the rest of the way. Goody did get 1 goal back to keep them within a kick at one point, but then the Eagles kicked the last 3 to end up winning by 19 points. And a really, really good all-round performance. This West Coast team is moving up the ladder quickly, and that team rating looks sensational. Plus 20 is a huge gap. There's no doubt about it. League best and fairest votes in this one. We went Courtney Rowley with 3, Isabella Lewis with 2, and Ashley Woodland gets the 1 vote. Disposals, West Coast had plus 60 disposals in this game. Port Adelaide did have an extra 2 inside 50s. But clearances plus 2 in favour of the Eagles. Contested and uncontested football quite clearly dominated by West Coast. Turnover numbers were absurdly high by both teams. 79 for the Eagles is 18 above their average, but 89 turnovers for the Port Adelaide Football Club is also plus 18 above their average, and a major reason that they probably struggled to stay in this game. On to player stats. Multiple goal scorers for the winning team. Charlotte Riggs and Isabella Lewis both kicked 2 each. And Indy Tahu for the Port Adelaide Football Club kicked 2 goals. MVP votes for the winning team. West Coast, 10 votes to Courtney Rowley. 27 touches, a goal, 7 tackles, 7 clearances. Kelly Gibson, 12 touches and a goal. In this one, 8 votes. Ella Roberts, as Ella Roberts does, played another good game here. 24 touches, only 4 kicks, 20 handballs, but 4 tackles, 5 clearances. Georgia Cleaver. Cleaver? Yes, Cleaver. Sorry, I confused myself there for a minute. 14 disposals, 4 votes. And Lucia Painter, what a start to Lucia's career in the AFLW. 14 touches and a goal here. Good game. 5 votes for Port Adelaide goes to Maria Maloney, 14 disposals. 4 votes to Matilda Schultz, who's had 2 good games in a row this week. Obviously nowhere near as good as last week, but still, I think at the moment you'd have to say is the second best ruckman in the competition. Next up is Sashi Syme for 18 disposals and 3 votes. Indy Tahu for those couple goals in 11 disposals gets 2 votes. And the 1 vote for the Port Adelaide Football Club goes to Tegan Gomech for 15 touches, 9 tackles. That's all 9 games from round 4. action. We'll jump into how my tips went. Not my best week, only the 6th this week. We went Demons, got that right. We went Giants to beat Suns, which we said was because Charlie Rowbottom was out and we got made a fool of, so we'll cop that one. We got the Blues right, we got the Hawks right, and we got the Swans right. We got the Crows wrong as the Lions came from behind to win that one. We then got Kangaroos to beat Collingwood. That was nothing special from us, let's be honest. Bombers we got wrong. We thought they might do okay because their form had been pretty good, but the Cats turned up and got the win. And then we got the last one right with the Eagles over Port Adelaide. 6 out of 9 for the week, 26 out of 36 for the year. We'll now jump into our leaderboards. This is the league best and fairest, so basically the Brownlow 3-2-1 for every single game. And this is how the leaderboard stands. Ash Riddell has taken the solo lead with 10 votes. Kate Hoare sits in second with 9 votes. Then we got 2 people on 8, Georgia Nanscowen and Isabel Pritchard on 8. 7 goes to Georgie Prespakis and Tiana Smith. And then a whole bunch of players on 6. Ali Anderson, Dana Finn, Eliza West, Jazzy Garner, Mon Conti, Chloe Malloy, and Ella Roberts all on 6. So that's how the leaderboard stands after round 4. And then our MVP leaderboard, so this is the votes that we do based on the rating system. Ash Riddell leads the way at the moment. 36 votes after 4 rounds. Georgia Nanscowen on 33 in second place. Kate Hoare, 30. Eliza West, Chloe Malloy, Ella Roberts all on 28 votes. 26 to Laura Gardner. 23 to Ebony Marinoff. 22 to Georgie Paspakis, 22 also to Lucy Wales. Dana Finn's had 2 good games in a row, up to 20 with Tilly Lucas-Rod. Jasmine Garner and Mon Conti, who has 20 out of a possible 20 votes due to Richmond losing all 4 matches so far. That's everything for that. We'll jump into our preview of round 5 now, so stick around. We've still got a little bit to go, but we'll rush through this preview. Alrighty then, let's fly through these previews. There's 9 matches coming up in round 5 of the AFLW. We're going to go through them and then we'll give our tips at the end of that. So stick around, probably another 10 or so minutes, 15 maybe, to go in this episode. First up, we start on Saturday afternoon. No Thursday, no Friday footy in the AFLW this week. There is finals footy in the AFL Men's, so go check my previews in Monday's episode for both of those games. For this weekend, AFLW Collingwood, Sydney kick us off at Victoria Park. 13th on the ladder versus 3rd on the ladder. Sydney Swans are heavy favourites. No surprise there. Based on what we've seen so far from both of these teams this season, you would expect that Sydney are probably going to walk away reasonably comfortably winners in this game. Collingwood are in a really tough little run for them at the moment. They're not playing bad football. Like, they only lost by 4 points to Melbourne. They were solid-ish against Kangaroos last week, but the last 2 games, Melbourne, Kangaroos, this one, Sydney, all 3 of those teams are undefeated this season, so really tough little run for the Pies. Meanwhile, Sydney are flying. They beat Richmond by 20, they beat Gold Coast by 80, they beat the Cats down at the Cattery by 5 points, and then last week beat the Dockers by 25. You would imagine they will be winning this one by probably 25 plus based on what we've seen from them this season. Next game up is Carlton Gold Coast. This will be at Icon Park, so home game for the Blues. They will be short-priced favourites. No real surprise there based on what we've seen from both of these teams this year. They did meet once last year and Carlton only got up by 1 point. In 2023 when they met, Carlton only won by 2 points, so the last 2 meetings have been close. The difference this year, though, is the Blues are playing some solid football, and Gold Coast, I haven't seen improvement from where they were last year, in all honesty. The Blues, they're 3-1, beating the Bulldogs and Brisbane the last 2 weeks. The Brisbane one especially is a really good one, and their one loss was only to Hawthorn by 8 points, so a really good performance there. Meanwhile, Gold Coast got smacked by Port Adelaide. They got smacked by Sydney. They were okay in round 1 against West Coast, but we haven't seen enough from them to suggest that they will be winning on the road against Carlton. But they did win last week, so they do have at least a little bit of confidence heading towards their team at the moment. So that is the one positive that the Suns have. Next up, we head across to South Australia, and we have Port Adelaide hosting Melbourne. This is a huge game for the Power, no doubt about it. They're back at home. They're playing Melbourne Demons, who are currently undefeated and sitting second on the ladder. Melbourne are actually going to be quite short favourites in this, which isn't that surprising when you consider that they've won all 4 games, and their first 2 they absolutely dominated. They only just got over the line against Collingwood, and then they were reasonably comfortable against Richmond, whereas Port Adelaide have had a really strange start to the season, losing to Freo, losing big time to the Kangaroos. That was a really, really disappointing result. Not so much the result, but just the way it happened. But they turned it around against Gold Coast, played some great football, but bounced back with a bad performance against West Coast last week. I know West Coast are looking okay, but still disappointing. You'd have to say, just based on what we've seen, Melbourne will be starting favourites. These two teams have never met yet in the AFLW, so this will be the first meeting. You'd have to think, based on what we're seeing, based on most of the numbers, Melbourne should be too strong, but don't be surprised if Port Adelaide put up a good fight here, because they do have a lot of talent on their list. They do have a couple injuries that is obviously affecting their results, but when they're playing good football, they can go with anyone. It's just a matter of putting it together, and back at home, maybe we'll see that happen here. Who knows? But Melbourne are playing some very good football, so you can't really go against them, can you? Next up, we head to Manuka Oval, the nation's capital, for the Giants v the Bulldogs. These two teams met in round 1 last year. Last year? Yeah, last year. And the Giants absolutely tore them apart, 72-9. I don't think the Giants won another game for the year. They got one draw against Gold Coast, maybe, but this was their only win last year, and I don't think they've won a game since. So it's been a while since the Giants have won. They did absolutely smack the Bulldogs, though. This year, though, the Doggies, I think, have been quite decent. Their record doesn't look great, 1-3, but that one win was a good win against a team that obviously hasn't won a game in the Tigers, but they only lost by 4 points to the Hawks. Round 1, they got beaten quite comfortably by the Demons, but again last week against a team that's in pretty good form in the Blues, they stuck around with them most of the way and only lost by 16 points. So I don't think the Bulldogs are ready to be competing for finals, but I would imagine they're probably in that maybe 10 to 12 or 13 range, whereas GWS Giants at the moment, you'd have to say, are probably the most likely team to get the wooden spoon this year. They're 0-4. They've lost to the Bombers, they've lost to Collingwood, Adelaide and Gold Coast. Collingwood and Gold Coast are both teams that were pretty much around them on the ladder at the end of last season. So to lose to both of them this early in the season is not a great sign for them. They've only managed a maximum of 4 goals in a game this year. They've had 2 games of 4 goals. 1 game of 3 and 1 game of 2. So they're not getting a lot of reward from their scoring end. It's an issue, but it is what it is. Bulldogs, I think, will be too good, but you just never know, because I mean they're 1-3. The Bulldogs, they're not playing great. I think they have been playing a lot better than GWS though so far this year. We move on to Sunday football next, and we head to Windy Hill. Bombers Saints, another big game for both of these clubs. There's no doubt about it. Bombers 7th on the ladder, St Kilda 14th. St Kilda's season, lose this one, and it's very, very difficult to see them having any chance of playing finals football. They won their first game against Adelaide, which was a really good result, but since then they've struggled to put much together. They got smacked by the Demons, beaten by the Eagles at home, and then got beaten quite comfortably last week against the Hawks. So their form not going spectacular. They take out that one win at the start of the year, and they're not looking great at all. So they need to win. Meanwhile, the Bombers, this just has to be a game that they win. If they want to be playing finals this year, which their form suggests they're probably good enough for, they need to be winning this game against St Kilda. They beat the Giants, they beat the Eagles, they beat Richmond. So 2 of those are definite bottom probably 4 or 5 teams at the moment in the competition. West Coast are pretty good and have shown some pretty good signs, so that's not a bad result. But the loss to Geelong last week suggests that maybe they're still a little bit off the top teams, and I think maybe 8 is going to be like lower rungs of the top 8 is probably their best case scenario at the moment from what we can see. And in order to do that, they're going to have to beat St Kilda and win all these games against teams that are kind of level on the ladder with them. What else do we need to say about this game? They met once last year. St Kilda won it by 8 points. They met once the year before. Bombers won it by 12 points. So I'm not hugely confident in the Bombers, but I think their best is better than St Kilda's at the moment. Next game up on Sunday is at Icon Park. It's the Tigers. It's the Cats. The Tigers haven't won a game yet this year. The Cats, they finally won a game last weekend against the Bombers after a really tough start to their season. They played Kangaroos, Adelaide, Sydney, 2 of them obviously top 4 teams from last year, and the other one a team that looks like being a top 4 team this year. So they had a tough run to start their year. This is now where they get to turn that around. Beating Bombers last week, they now play a team that hasn't won a game in the Tigers. Really good opportunity to get themselves to 2-3 on the season. They will be short price favourites for obvious reasons, and this is a massive opportunity for them. The Tigers, it's hard to see where their first win is coming at the moment. They lost obviously by 20 points round 1 against Sydney, 21 points to the Bulldogs in round 2, 15 points to the Bombers in round 3, and then 37 points to the Melbourne Demons in round 4. So they're not getting absolutely smacked, but they're just a little bit off the pace, and that's all you have to be. They did beat the Cats last year, but the Cats beat them the couple times before that. Make of that what you will, but yeah, did we expect to see the Tigers 0-4 this year? I mean, I don't think I had them in the finals in my preseason prediction, but their season is looking pretty much over. They have St Kilda next week, so that might be an opportunity for a win. But if they don't get that one, you're looking at a while until they get a genuine winning opportunity, because they play some top teams through round 7, 8, and 9. It might be Collingwood in round, whatever round that is, round 10 might be their opportunity. It's a tough run at the moment for the Tigers, but we'll see how they go. Hawks Adelaide, this is massive. This is as big as football gets this weekend, just about. There's another big one coming up as well, but this is probably the biggest. Connect Stadium in Victoria, round 5, Hawthorn Adelaide. Hawthorn undefeated, 4-0. Adelaide have bookend their season so far with a couple losses. So 2-2 after 4 weeks. This is huge for the Crows. They don't want to be 2-3. It won't be their season over by any stretch, but they have a tough schedule this year. And these are the sort of games that they need to win after losing last week by 3 points to the Lions. They need to bounce back here. Hawks, their first 3 games, they won them, but they'd all been close. I think it was like a total of like 14 points or 18 points or something across 3 weeks. They turned that around last week with beating St Kilda comfortably by 23. But they'd been winning. That's the main thing. Whereas Adelaide, they had that poor loss in week 1 against St Kilda, and then last week getting beaten late against the Lions will really hurt them. Top 4 is looking very, very difficult for the Crows right now. Not saying it's impossible, but it's looking difficult. Just the fact that they're already 2 games behind them, and they do have a pretty tough schedule still to come. So that's where the Crows are at. They just need to start winning some games, and this is certainly one of those ones that would be huge for them, because it would gain them basically a 2-game swing on a team like Hawthorn, who is a team that if they were to play top 4 this year, Adelaide, Hawthorn would be one of those teams that they've got to try and knock out of the top 4. Adelaide are actually slight favourites in this at the moment, which I find very, very surprising. I think Hawthorn should be the favourites, in my opinion. 2 more games to come on the Sunday afternoon, and it's the grand final rematch. It's the Brisbane Lions v the Kangaroos, and it'll be up in Queensland. It's Brighton Homes Arena. This will be a cracker, maybe. Potentially, Brisbane got themselves into a little bit of form, maybe. Potentially, they've had a couple bad losses, but beating Adelaide last week was huge. They obviously met twice last year. Grand final, Kangaroos won by 30 points. They also met in week 1 up in Brisbane, and the Kangaroos absolutely dismantled them that day. They won by 44 points, but they absolutely drew blood early in that one. They also met, obviously, in the 2023 grand final. They've met in both of the last 2 grand finals. That one, the Brisbane Lions won by 17 points. Kangaroos 4-0. They have not put a foot wrong yet this season. They've put together some good scores. They've kept their opposition to low scores. Geelong managed 3 goals against them. Every other team has managed 2. So if they have not been conceding much, they've scored pretty heavily. They're just flying. Even though Jazz Garner's not out there at the moment, it hasn't slowed them down, which, let's be honest, we weren't that surprised because they have a lot of depth at the Kangaroos right now. On the other side of the fence, Brisbane Lions, they've gone loss, win, loss, win. They're 2 losses against Hawthorn and Carlton, so not terrible losses, but losses nonetheless. The win against Fremantle was really good. And then, obviously, last week's win against Adelaide was very, very important for them, especially when they knew they had Kangaroos coming up the next weekend. They lose this 2-3. It's not doom and gloom. It's a very similar story to that Adelaide Crows one. But if they were to win this, then they're right back in that talk for top 4 this year. Next up, the final game of the round. It's the Western Derby, or Derby, or however you want to say it. Fremantle, West Coast. 6th v 16th, and somehow the team that's 16th on the ladder right now is actually the favourite going into this one, surprisingly, because I know I've talked about Fremantle a lot and how I had high hopes for them this season. They have not been showing that so far. This will be an interesting game. They met once last year and the Dockers did win it by 23 points. They met once the year before and the Dockers won it by 8 points. And they met once in 2022 Season 7 and the Dockers won it by 3 points. Freo are 1-3 after winning their first game and looking really good. It's all fallen apart, losing by 70 points to the Lions and 100 points to the Kangaroos, and then 25 points to Sydney Swans. Granted, they are potentially 3 of the top 4 or 5 teams in the competition, so maybe they're just playing some really tough opposition, and now that they get back to their sort of level, they win. Maybe they're just not one of the top teams and they're in that next category, but the margin of victory on a couple of them is concerning. Meanwhile, West Coast 3-1, beat Gold Coast week 1, lost to Bombers by 5 points. Really, still a really solid performance there. Beat St Kilda by 14 points on the road. And then last week, their come from behind victory over Port Adelaide was really, really solid. You'd have to suggest that West Coast will be in this game up to their eyeballs. So this might be a good one to finish the round on Sunday night, sitting back and having a little watch of this one to wrap up your weekend of football. We'll jump into my tips and then that will be the end of this episode. We're starting off with Sydney. They should be way too strong for Collingwood based on what we've seen this year so far. We're gone with Swans by 30 points. Carlton, their form is too good for Gold Coast, I think, right now. We're tipping them by 23 points. Demons, once again, we're going with form in this one. 15-point winners by our standards. Bulldogs by 18 over the Giants. Until the Giants win a game, I'm not ever tipping them confidently. The Bombers by 4 points over the Saints on Sunday at Windy Hill. That will be a cracker, I think. The Cats should be too strong for the Tigers by 22 points. Then we get into a couple crackers, maybe 3 cracking games to finish. We're going Hawks by 5. Just home ground advantage plus just slightly better form than Adelaide. So we're going Hawthorn. Kangaroos, you just don't tip against them until we start seeing them lose. It's been forever since they lost a game. It was all the way back in that grand final 2023. So until they lose, we're definitely not tipping against the Roos. And the final game to round it out, we're going with the Eagles over Fremantle, just based on form. Just sticking with form. That's how we're going. That is our round 5 tips. That's pretty much everything we have in the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Let me know in the comments below if you did or you didn't. This has been episode number 67. Let me know who you think's going to win. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button depending what platform you are on. This goes live twice every single week: YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We also have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have plenty going on YouTube, so go check it all out. I'm Jay, this is the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one.